Martin Popoff here, back again with another edition of Who Invented Heavy Metal, based on the more or less the album themes from my book Who Invented Heavy Metal, which has got the legendary Black Sabbath mill on the cover, as shot by my good buddy Monty Connor, and that album, of course, has all sorts of little things that aren't albums along the way, songs that are important as we move through the 40s and 50s and 60s and all that. We are kind of in the 60s now, but like I say, this feature, this sub-show on the Contrarians here is going to focus on albums because I've always thought albums were the more intentioned things. So we are kind of elevating albums in importance here over other trace elements. They don't have to be songs, right? First extreme vocal, first use of feedback, distortion, riffing, power chords, all those sorts of things, right? More emotional, more abstract things. It's all kind of in that book. But like I say, this is all about albums. This is the fourth one we've done. This is going to be on Blue Cheer Outside Inside. Now, the third one we did was on Vincebus Eruptum. But I've always thought that this record deserves a lot more recognition. It's always kind of like forgotten about or put on the back burner. It's like 7 months after Vincebus Eruptum, so that's early '78. I believe it's January. 68, January '68, and this is August 1968 for their second album. Now this is the last with the classic lineup. We're going to lose Leigh Stevens, and he's going to be replaced by Randy Holden, and there's going to be some other lineup thingies going on. But all the albums that come after this, they basically drop out of the hard rock heavy metal conversation. This is the second and last that feels like it belongs in this. We've got, what do we got later? New and improved, all that kind of stuff. So this one's called Outside Inside, and the words are run together. It's just outside, inside, one word. It's recorded. It's recorded kind of all over the place. So that's kind of the cool thing about this. It's called this because, because of Dickie Peterson's sort of strange philosophy of volume and Paul Whaley and his violent careening drums. They did an experiment where they recorded outside as well. So the outside sessions are Gate 5, Sausalito, California, Muir Beach, California, Pier 57, New York City. And the inside sessions are A&R Studios, New York City, Olmsted Studios, New York City, Record Plant, New York City, Pacific Recorders, San Mateo, California. Now, when you hear all of that, you should get the impression, and that impression would be right, that this is going to be a much more serious and considered album than Vincebus Eruptum. I think Vincebus Eruptum is overrated. I don't even like it very much. As we talked about in the last episode, it's got 6 songs on it. 3 of them are covers. Now, this has 9 songs on it, and there's only 2 covers. So that's really cool about this. So yeah, so let's just go through it. And this is why, again, I'll go so far as to say I'm a non-contrarian when it comes to what is the first heavy metal album. I think it's Black Sabbath, February 13th, Friday the 13th, 1970. But as I said in that previous episode, anybody who kind of wants to bring up another bona fide full album, I sometimes bring up Kick Out the Jams sometimes, or the Stooges, and we certainly are going to talk about those records on this series. But when I go second after, when I come up with something earlier than Black Sabbath, I do tend to go sometimes with Kick Out the Jams. It's true. But I think the best example of this sort of thing, Kick Out the Jams, of course, has the cheating element in that it's a live album. Now, I was going to say, that's a big deal here, a big difference. But I mean, this basically sounds pretty live anyways, right? But look at that list of studios that they're working at here, right? I mean, it is definitely a more serious album, and it is considered a studio album, right? So yeah, I will go with this record over Vincebus Eruptum, put it that way, even though that is the earlier album. Now, that album, obviously, because it is the earlier album, it really kind of deserves, if you're lining these up in order chronologically, I definitely hear a lot of people say Vincebus Eruptum is the first heavy metal album. But I will pick this over that album. So why? Let's just go through it here. So First side has 5 songs on it. Feathers from Your Tree. It's heavy enough. It's heavy psych. It's kind of like a little bit heavy Grateful Dead from their more electric psychedelic early years, right? Sun Cycle, not heavy really. It picks up a little bit. It's at least like Heavy Cream. I mean, everything about both these albums is way more intentional, I think, than Cream, which I also think is heavy, is overrated. I'm not a big Cream fan at all. But Paul is definitely Ginger Baker like, but he's a headbanging Ginger Baker. Like, he's really giving her all the time. He's bashing toms, he's bashing cymbals. But this song is not particularly heavy. But third track, just a little bit, very heavy, very Hendrix, psych, violent drums again. It's got this kind of cool, odd proggy drum lick to it as well. But they do create a wall of sound. There's more intentionally distorted electric guitar on this album as well. And like I say, I think it's just riffier. And like I said, there's way more songwriting on it. Gypsy Ball, extremely distorted and dirty. And it's a riff crossed with power chords. So you're getting some essence of power chord and some essence of riffing here, but totally heavy song. And Come and Get It, also very heavy, kind of MC5 sound. These are songs that if they were on Back in the USA, certainly, and High Time and Kick Out the Jams, they would just fit right in there, and you'd think, these are some of the heaviest songs on these albums. So that as well. So 3 out of 5 songs on this side, definitely proto metal. Side 2, I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Stones. This is a headbanging version of it. This is them essentially doing what they did to Summertime Blues, strangled the heck out of it, basically. Eddie Cochran's Summertime Blues. And here they're doing the same thing to I Can't Get No Satisfaction. It's faster, it's doomy, it's raucous. That Satisfaction riff, which is just sort of yangy and annoying by the Stones. Here, it's made, like I say, a little bit doom laden, right? So yeah, you almost hear the intention of the heavying up of this band in what they do to this song. Unfortunately, their cover of The Hunter, which I don't ever want to hear anybody cover, it's boring as heck. But it's not even a heavy version that they do here. So it's definitely just a loose Grateful Dead sort of arrangement, kind of a disappointment. Back though, with the heaviness is Magnolia, Caboose, Babyfinger. It's up tempo again, dark Detroit, Stooges, Amboy Dukes, MC5, Frost, SRC kind of sound. But it's only a minute 30 instrumental, but it's an action-packed instrumental. It doesn't feel that short, right? They just get to the point and they rock out on it. And then finally, Babylon. Babylon is a really cool one on here. It's quite different. It's essentially it houses the band in that Jeff Beck, Truth, Led Zeppelin 1 sort of zone. It's cowbell, it's funky, it's groovy, but it is a spirited, heavy funk, and it's basically that space between British blues boom and modern heavy metal, where you get a blues riff kind of twisted around and made heavier. And like I say, yeah, it's kind of Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 2 that you're getting here. So, these guys are doing this August 68 before Led Zeppelin's first album, and you're seeing the blueprint of that right there. But really, I think what you're getting out of this album more so is you're almost imagining what would happen if Jimmy made a slightly heavier album than Are You Experienced. This is kind of what it would come out as. So again, check this album out. I think you will agree that it's just better, more thoughtful, and heavier, and more intentioned, and more moving towards a heavy space, and less just unskilled, as Vincebus Eruptum is. And there you go. This has been Who Invented Heavy Metal here on the Contrarians. You can subscribe. Let me know what you think about this whole situation with this, comparing these two albums. This would be a really good album war thing. I just did the album war, so I wouldn't go on that show, but it would be a good album war kind of idea, because it is the same lineup. It's the power trio: Dickie Peterson, Leigh Stevens, Paul Whaley. Join our Patreon. You can do that. Of course, if you're into Want any of my books? I've written 130 hard rock and heavy metal books, and anything that's in print is available at martinpopoff.com. So there you go. Go play some blue cheer outside inside.